A man who has been putting on an absolute clinic with the rules that are placed before him on how you build and construct a roster in the NFL. Ladies and gentlemen, the salary cap guru for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the team has been able to hire and pay every single all-star you've ever heard of for the last 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Greenberg.
Yay!
What's up, dude?
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Hey, what should I call you? Mike Greeny, Mr. Greenberg, big brain guy?
Whatever works for you.
All right, Greeny. That's the other Mike.
Big brain
Mike.
guy. Big Mike.
Big brain Mike.
Yeah, big brain Mike.
Big brain Mike.
Yeah.
Big brain Mike, do you think that what we just said is an accurate assessment? Do you think you have a bigger brain than everybody else? Like when you started doing what you were doing with the salary cap, and I think it was explained to us by Andrew Brandt, former executive of the Green Bay Packers, it's a cash over cap thing that has been introduced into the modern roster construction where some teams have been able to take advantage of it and some teams haven't. Is it just you sit down every day and have to go through the rules, see what you can do, what you can't do? Did a light bulb switch one day where it was like, damn, we can pull this off, we can pull that off? And how long have you been a salary cap guru into figuring this out? Was it like as soon as you sat down, you're like, how come we haven't just been doing this the entire time? If any of that, a lot of questions, but I think they all lead into each other, I think, big brain Mike, I think.
I appreciate it. First, surround myself with really intelligent people. We have our director of football research here, Jackie Davidson, who's just a brilliant mind. So we work together hand in hand on all the salary cap and contract stuff. And I think kind of there's a few factors that I think really went into what we were able to do this year. And one, when you look back 2010, 11, 12, when 2011 CBA came out, we were a team that always really spent cash to cap. I never really prorated money forward. And the thinking was, well, one, honestly, we just didn't have the people to pay at the time. We weren't a very good team, but we knew that at some point we're going to get there and we're going to need the flexibility. So when you don't push money forward in all those years, we were able to move some cap room over. And then when a guy gets released, you don't face all those big dead cap charges. So we had the flexibility going into this that stemmed from several years. And then a second factor is you need really good players, and specifically you need some young rookies that are contributing because you got guys, you can't pay all the veterans, but when you got guys like Tristan Wirfs and Devin White and Winfield that are still in their rookie deals, it gives you a lot of flexibility to go out and pay some of these veterans. So it's a credit to our personnel staff, and I think we have best general manager and personnel staff and John Spytek and Rob McCartney, Mike Beal. They've drafted phenomenal, and that's really helped us, our flexibility, being able to bring some veterans in, because when you have some of these rookies that are really making impacts and Pro Bowl players, you can go after some of these veterans. But the biggest thing is you need the cash. You need the money. And I think the Glazers have made no bones about it, that they recognize we have a good team. They recognize that Tom Brady has, a limited window here, and they're going for it. And they've given us the ability to spend. And from a salary cap person standpoint, it's a dream. You're just going out there and just trying to making it work. And so you need kind of all those factors. So I don't want to take all the credit. I'll take the credit. Don't get me wrong. I like the credit. But it's something that as an organization we've been able to do because of all that.
I think I gave you the credit. You gave yourself none of it there. So maybe, Dahn, we should go back all the times we've given him credit and edit in just for let the record show that it's actually like 45 other people.
And I'll still take the credit.
No, big brain Mike doesn't do shit.
Jackie.
Exactly.
I talked to a few of the cap people around the league, and we just appreciate that us cap nerds are finally getting some recognition, because no one ever wants to talk about the spreadsheet guys.
Okay, big brain Mike,
so
though, it's a big deal. This is a massive deal, especially with the way like some position groups are normally rather expensive. In the NFL season, especially now with the 17th game added, people are going to get hurt in big-time positions. And the ability to have depth at a high level, it doesn't matter till it shows up, right? And when it shows up, everybody's like, that's why they have 5 guys at that position that are at the top, because when inevitably something happens, you're able to plug in place. And the teams that have been winning lately have had great depth at skill position, which, by the way, costs money. So if you can figure out how to pay these people to keep them on your roster, that's a weapon. So we got massive respect for you and the other nerds around the league that are doing what they do. Now, can I ask you about you saying for all those years where you guys didn't do it, you were able to kind of make room? When they say, and there's some people that don't like this, and granted, I think the cash over cap situation with the Glazer family being like all in is the biggest separator. But a lot of people say if you kick the can down the road, you kick the can down the road, it's going to get you inevitably. What are they talking about with that, and how do you prepare around that? What does that even mean?
So eventually, you do put these void years in, and eventually you're paying a guy like Tom Brady the money that you pushed out. And once he retires, eventually you have a big cap charge for a guy that's no longer on the roster. So if the cap is $208 million, and let's say he makes up $30 million worth of cap charges and no longer on the roster, that's what they're saying. It starts to kind of eat up the cap room you have, and you can continuously try and push it, but eventually it's going to catch up to you, and you're going to have to reset a little bit. The key to me to trying to get your way out of that is just to continuously draft well. It's if you draft well and continue to bring in young talent that are on rookie deals, you can really start to climb your way out of it a bit. So that's really the key to doing what we did and being able to get out of it.
What do you think? So it's just a 1 year thing? Do you think it set you back multiple years? And when did the voided years thing come into play? Has it always been legal and we've just seen more of it lately, or is it just added with the new CBA?
No, it's always been something you can do. I think it got a lot of attention last year because for the first time in a long time, the cap actually went down because of COVID. So teams, when we were when you're planning, you look at 2-3 years out, and everybody's planning 2-3 years out, and then all of a sudden, 2021, the cap's going down. It's going the opposite way. So all the teams are scrambling a little bit, and it just became everyone really did it last year, just because everyone had to get under the cap. So that's really why it got a lot of attention. It's been something you can always do, but it got a lot of attention because it was being done by everyone last year.
How many years can you push it out? Can somebody sign, like, for instance, thank God it was just a cramp with Tristan Wirfs, by the way. Thank God.
Yeah.
But as soon as I saw it, the initial report was he was getting carted off. I'm like, damn, okay. So you got Bobby Hainsey, obviously, and then there's some veterans out there that are going to cost money. And then tackle is a very important position. By the way, Tristan's good, which is good. But it brought me to a question. Like, in training camp, something happens at a position where you're going to have to bring in a vet who's going to cost a little bit of money. You're immediately doing the math on how many void years you can put it out there to save and what we can make the signing bonus. How many years can you send that out? Can it be like a Bobby Bonilla? I want a 15-year, 14 voided year deal, so this vet that we need to make our team whole here early can get $10 million or something like that. How far can you go with it?
There is so you can push it out really 5 years because that's how much it's going to prorate out. Okay. But then the automatic void, let's say it's a 1 year contract, and you push it out 5 years, it's going to accelerate into next year once that void happens if it's a 1 year deal. So really you could push it out 5 years, and what that will do is that'll lower the cap hit this year, but then it'll all accelerate into next year if it's a 1 year deal. So initially it's 5 years and then it accelerates back.
Yeah, so those 4 that we were planning on using are going to catch up because he's no longer on the team.
Correct. Exactly.
Oh, so that's when you kick it down the road, they get you.
It comes back in, and then you got to find somebody else to kick it down the road, and you keep continuously doing that. It'll catch up to you eventually.
Okay.
But it's something that, when you're going for it, you're going for it.
Hell yes. Yeah, can we get Tom Brady back? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can we
make it work?
Can we get Godwin here on a franchise? Yeah. Well, Evans.
The answer is always yes.
Yeah. Can we get Evans here? Yeah. That's what we've been saying this whole time. Big brain Mike. Because there's some teams that we pull for where there's some moves that can be made, and somebody goes, well, cap wise, they don't have anything. It's like, yes, they do. The Saints saved like $100 million in like 2 days. Did you see that shit? Do you watch other people's films, like other salary caps moves? Because what the Saints were 70 over, then they became 30 under in like an 8-day period or something. Like I was like, holy shit.
The salary cap people in the NFL we are collectively the most judgmental group. We are the first to look at other teams going, oh, we would never do that. Did you see what they did? We judge each other every chance we get. close group, but we just judge each other all the time.
Every new
It's part of the fun. You have to be able to make fun of other people.
Every new deal that happens, that affects you guys, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you have to watch the market all day, every day. Are you watching it like a trader almost with what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you like to do is you call your friends, you just did a deal. Before you even see the deal, you go, I can't believe you did that deal. I can't believe that deal just got done. Just to get under their skin a little bit. But we are collectively a very judgmental group.
Ty, your question for Big Brain Mike.
Yeah, Big Brain Mike, in terms of like the kicking it down the road, when you look at the new TV deals and all the money that's coming in and where the cap's going to go, is there any type of thought where like, hey, we can kick it down the road and we'll be able to kind of outrun it because of how much money is coming into the league and where the salary cap is going?
100%. So we're always looking, okay, we're trying to figure out what the cap's going to be next year and the year after. And with the TV deals coming in, it's obviously going to increase the cap. So 100%, we're always taking that into consideration and knowing, okay, that's really a factor that played into ours too. We go in a few years with the cap, it should increase with all the new TV deals, and we'll be able to push it. And that's why we kind of made the decision, let's push it forward. And so definitely take that into consideration.
What is the cap? It's the TV rights, right? And then what else?
It's a collection of things, collection of formula that the NFL and union negotiated, and CBA, and it's a little bit complicated. But
I think it's TV
I defer to
rights.
the league and the union to kind of put that together and give us the number.
Yeah, but I think it's like TV rights is a big part, and I wasn't saying that for you, but I think TV rights is to do that. So
it is.
When
you see
when you see the NFL is like, Sunday ticket was $1 billion for this time. We're asking for $2.5 billion now. Like, you guys all have to perk up and be like, whoa.
Here we go.
Okay, so that's at least right. Because who
We
knows
know
where
it's
it could go,
increasing.
right? Who knows where it could go right now?
Right. We know it's increasing now. At the same time, so will the player salaries. They'll want more. They say they look at it as well. The agents look at it and they say, look at these TV deals. A $20 million receiver, he should really be making 30. So as everything increases, so does everything else. The minimum salaries from the new CBA keep increasing. So it kind of works both ways there, because everything's going to increase as the cap increases.
Oh, you just said inflation. No. It does feel like you just did that. Are you lead counsel as well, or do you just give a heads up on how things will work with other people negotiating?
Am I what? I'm sorry?
Are you lead counsel for Bucks as well?
Yeah, so me and Jackie Davison, we handle all the negotiations together, and Jason will chime in as well. So he loves to talk about some of the interesting cap rules, funding rules. That's really where he gets interested.
That's awesome.
He defers to us on all that stuff. That's where we lose him.
We're talking to Mike Greenberg, salary cap guru and lead counsel for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cash over cap with the Glazer family backing it and the whole team being in. Seems to have found maybe a cheat code down there in Tampa Bay, and it's been fun to watch. Tone Diggs, your question.
Mike, so does Tom, when Tom says, hey, I got Gronk and I got Julio on the hook here, does he come to your office first to see if you can make a deal happen, or does he go to Jason's office first? Who does Tom tell when he wants someone on the team?
So Jason and Tom have an unbelievable relationship. I think Tom never really calls Jason and goes, we need to sign this guy or that guy. That's blown out of proportion a little bit. What ends up happening really is guys get released and they want to come and play here. They want to play with Tom. They want to play for BA and Todd Bowles and Byron. The veteran guys realize that we're in Florida. We have no state taxes. That's a big thing.
Yes.
So they want to come here. So with having, and there's no doubt about it, they want to play with Tom. And we get a lot of calls from agents when guys get released or when they're in free agency, just checking in to say, hey, you guys interested in my guy? Would love to come down there and play with Tom. So there's no doubt that people want to come and play here and play with Tom. But I think there's other factors of the organization as well with the coaching staff and as well.
Greeny, a couple years ago in the middle of COVID, there was a time where your kicker and your punter tested positive, and I thought to myself, I know a lot of the coaches down there. I've never got to kick and punt in a game. I could do one game.
Oh yeah.
So I reached out to a couple friends of mine. I'm like, hey, what would have to take place here? And obviously, I was told, not these friends of mine at the NFL, not any team. They're like, well, first of all, the Colts would have to release your rights. But also in the middle of this, you're going to have the antibodies already, because if you don't have the COVID antibodies, you'll have to be in a hotel for 2 weeks or whatever, and you won't be able to play or whatever. So I went and got an antibodies test. Turns out I did not have the antibodies, so none of it could happen. So I didn't even have to call in a favor to Chris Ballard. Hey, need you to fucking just let me go.
Real quick.
Need you to let me go. I'm going down there. Didn't even get a chance to call the Bucs. I would have loved negotiating with you, though, Greeny.
So I remember this. We had a Pat McAfee meeting, BA, Jason, and we sat around, and I said, the WWE money he has, I'm good at pushing and cash down the road. But this is going to be too much. So we had the meeting. It got talked about. We were disappointed because it would have been that way. That's where we would have probably drawn the line. Because it just couldn't push that much money.
Yeah, listen, we might have had to push that thing 10, 20 years down. But I mean, we would have figured it out, Greeny. Go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, Mr. Big Brain, you said that, in like the last 6 years when your window really wasn't technically open, you were kind of getting prepared for this time now where it is and you can go and get a championship. Do you see that with other teams now when you look around the league? Like maybe there's a couple teams that might not be primed for a run right now, but in 3-4 years they might have the pieces and the money to make a run?
Definitely, you could see some teams because you can move cap room now from 1 year to the next pretty easily, and you can see the teams that really it's the ones that have the good young rookie quarterbacks and haven't had to pay that quarterback yet, maybe haven't had to pay a receiver or left tackle yet, and you see them kind of getting ready and pushing that cap room because it's gonna happen. They're gonna have to do something similar to what we've been doing. So you can kind of see some of it from blooming with some of those teams that have a lot of cap room that keep pushing it forward a little bit.
See, that was some things that was a trend there, right? Whenever Goff was at the Rams, he was rookie quarterback. They paid a bunch of OGs around him. Then Seattle, right, when Russ was young, they paid Legion of Boom. They paid everybody around him. Now it feels like the trend is young quarterback, you can pay OG wide receiver, or older quarterback who's already been broken off once, takes a little bit of a team-friendly deal, you can pay wide receiver. But if you're in that big pay of quarterback run, going to be tough to pay the skill positions. I said yesterday that that's probably how teams are going to be constructed for the next, 10 years? How long do trends last, do you think, in the NFL? Is this going to be going forever, or do you think there is cyclical. There it is.
Yeah.
Smart.
I think it's cyclical. I think it has to do. It's interesting with every time a new CBA comes out, you see kind of sometimes a new trend. People, with this CBA, a lot of the minimum salaries went up. So you see different trends that are impacted by the CBAs, with the new CBAs when they come out, and they usually come out. 2011 was the last one, and then this one came out 2 years ago. So I think it's fair to say that 7 to 10 year window, you kind of see some of these new trends like you're discussing.
All right. Well, we appreciate the hell out of you. Thank you for doing everything you've done for the game. We appreciate you explaining things to us idiots about how and why you do your stuff, and keep kicking ass down there. I know it's got to be hot as hell in Tampa right now.
It is hot. We practice 8:30 in the morning because it gets real hot come lunchtime. So
I could imagine. I know you guys are selling the no state income tax. And I know you guys are selling hey, the manatees in the bay. It's beautiful.
Great.
In the town, there's cranes everywhere. Everybody's having a good time.
Go boats.
It's going to be go boats everywhere. But
we're trying to get AQ Shipley to come back. We're doing
well,
things down there.
he's actually the one that told me, because I run hot as well. He's like, it is always 150 degrees down here. It is always 100% humidity. I think that's the only thing that anybody has said that isn't great about Tampa. Aside from that, what a fucking beautiful place, and congrats on all the success.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys. Love the show. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, salary cap guru and lead counselor for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, big-brained Mike Greenberg.
Hey,
Okay, so everything we thought.
Yeah. Just need an owner, right? That's
Need an owner that says, let's go win a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you are going to have to answer the bell at some point. But then you move it. He let it fly in there in the middle of his second time talking about it. Yeah. He's like, but then you just move it. Hopefully somebody else will pick it up. And then, you just kind of move it, keep moving it. And if these the TV rights deals are a massive part of the salary caps. And I know there's a formula, the amount of percentage. And then obviously I think it's split 50.5 to 49.5. I think is where it's at now. Used to be 51-49, and the players weren't happy about it. Wanted to be a 50-50 split because it's 31 owners, and it's 1,300 guys or whatever. Yeah. But it's always been in the NFL's favor, which was a talking point, a sticking point. I forget exactly what they inevitably agreed upon, but the salary cap is deeply affected by the TV deals.
Yeah.
And then there's a percentage of other stuff like merch and other shit and whatever you got going on. But boy, if they're getting 250% of what they were once getting for Sunday ticket, that goes directly into the TV rights deals, which goes directly into salary cap, which is like, that money's only going to go and go. So the ability to just move shit as the new money's coming in, I think people are going to be able to build super teams and continue to do so.
Yeah, and then, I mean, it does, take 1 year where you might be off, but like some teams like the Packers, if you get lucky and happen to have, good quarterback to good quarterback, you don't really miss that much. And like New England had to pay the piper for 1 year, and that was the COVID year, and they went 7-9. But then if you're good in the draft, all of a sudden you can turn your team around immediately. Sometimes it's not that long of like a drought almost.
Yeah, the Colts obviously weren't doing this, but they had 1 year. We went 2-14. That was 2 years after we went undefeated until we chose to lose. It's like you can take a 1 year reset. Fans aren't going to like it.
No.
That year is going to be miserable.
It's terrible.
That 2-14 year was fucking miserable for all parties involved.
Yeah.
All parties involved. Miserable. But then, boom, Andrew Luck's drafted quarterback the next year. Whole new team. Whole new era. Whole new. It's like, boom, you got to be fresh in there. But if you're not drafting well, I think what he's saying is you're not drafting well, your young, small money is the shits.
Right.
So whenever you lose all the old guys, your team is the shits. So if you continue to draft well and have a good young nucleus that is cheap, that can make up for because the dead cap is going to hit your roster hard. So the rest of it, you're playing behind everybody else. You just got to hope your young guys are good. That's why you got to continue to draft. So if you have faith in your drafting, Chris Ballard.
Which he should.
Everybody says he's a great drafter, which he is.
More than anybody.
And you got an owner who's got cash. And he just bought a $6.8 million
Belt?
Title, man.
Excuse me.
Belts hold up your fucking pants.
True. Well, so do titles.
I mean, depending on how tight you put them on.
Tell you what, if Jim were to sell, all 30 guitars and belts and memorabilia, you could
Never gonna
literally.
do that. He's got a museum.
He doesn't.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying if he wasn't, worried about that museum, you could get literally any player in the league if you wanted.
All right, let's get to a break.
And he doesn't have to worry about doing that just because, anytime they make a renovation or something, they just make the people pay for it in Indianapolis.
Jeez.
Who cares? No, he's saving dollars all over the place.